In recent times, American cars have been getting bigger. Just look at our love of trucks and SUVs. But nowadays, more car makers are electrifying their cars. Today I'm talking about why I predict American trucks and SUVs will soon start to get smaller. I'll give you a hint. It's a catch-22 situation. Here's the thing. There's a huge weight difference between conventional gas-powered trucks and SUVs versus electric ones. Electric ones are always heavier. Take the Ford F-150, for example. The traditional gasoline-powered F-150 has a curb weight roughly between 4,000 to 5,000 pounds, depending on the options you add. On the other hand, the electric version, which is the F-150 Lightning, has a curb weight of up to 6,500 pounds. That's 35% more than the gas-powered one. The reason why the Lightning is so heavy comes down to the battery. The battery alone weighs some 1,800 pounds. It's also roughly the size of 2 mattresses. You also have the weight of the electric motors to consider. To put that in perspective, the gas-powered version, say the 5-liter V8 engine, together with the 10-speed automatic transmission, weighs less than 700 pounds. Even if you had a full tank of gas, that's just an additional 150 pounds. If you're wondering what's the biggest battery capacity, well, look at the market today. Right now, the largest is the 2023 GMC Hummer EV pickup. I'm talking about 212.7 kilowatt-hour battery. Then there's a Tesla Roadster with a 200 kilowatt-hour battery. And it's the Rivian R1T truck with a 170 kilowatt-hour battery. But of course, none of these comes close to the capacity of the battery pack inside the Tesla semi-truck. Tesla released a 95-second video of the semi doing a 500-mile drive. You can actually see the driver's speed. For 85% of the video, the driver is under 60 miles an hour. And for only 15% of the time, he drove over or above 60 miles an hour. Thing is, it's very common for trucking companies to set the governed speed of their trucks between 60 and 65 miles an hour. Reason is fuel economy. Anyway, if you calculate it, the energy required to drive a full load for 500 miles at a speed of 60 miles an hour is 800 kilowatt hours. And that's just the minimum amount. Now, Tesla already sent its first delivery of semis to the Pepsi company. Pepsi's intent is to haul Frito-Lay food products within a 425-mile radius. But for heavier products, say sodas for instance, the trucks will initially do shorter trips of around 100 miles. But Pepsi does intend to eventually haul beverages in the 400 to 500-mile range. The battery pack for the semi is positioned under the cabin floor. Just imagine the weight of this behemoth battery. There's no public information released by Tesla about this, but we can try to make a reasonable estimate. For example, let's take the battery of the Tesla Model S as a reference point. The complete battery pack weighs 1,200 pounds, or 544 kilograms, and its capacity is 100 kilowatt hours. Right now, the Tesla semi-truck is expected to have a battery capacity of about 900 kilowatt hours, which, by the way, is enough juice to power at least 10 Tesla Model X's. All of this is to say that the semi-truck battery pack will weigh nearly 11,000 pounds. I'm talking about the weight of an average African forest elephant. It's like placing the elephant in the semi. So what does this mean? Tesla Semi is a Class 8 truck. This class has a gross vehicle weight rating between 33,000 to 80,000 pounds. I'm talking about the max loaded weight, which includes the vehicle, chassis, body, engine, fluids, etc., driver, passenger, and cargo. If you look at an average Class 8 diesel truck, the truck itself, without cargo, typically weighs around 17,000 pounds. Add to that 2,000 pounds of fuel. So we're talking 19,000 pounds here. Now, legally, these 18-wheelers can't exceed 80,000 pounds. So technically speaking, the average diesel truck can carry 61,000 pounds of cargo. So how much cargo can the Tesla Semi carry? Right now, it's believed to be able to carry a total cargo weight of 44,000 pounds. That's 27% less cargo weight than a traditional diesel truck. Something else most Americans don't realize is that heavy EVs impact the very roads you drive on. And I'm not just talking about the Tesla semi-truck. Some 2022 models of the Ford Lightning and Rivian R1T battery electric trucks weigh a colossal 6,500 to 6,700 pounds. And of course, that's nothing compared to the GMC Hummer EV truck, which weighs a jaw-dropping 9,063 pounds. That's less than 1,000 pounds lighter than a minimum required weight for a monster truck. But that's the thing. These electric trucks aren't driving on monster truck dirt track. They're driving on common everyday paved roads, and they're destroying them. What you have to understand is that roads and bridges are designed for a specific lifespan. Usually it's around 20 years for roads and 30 to 50 years for bridges. There's the American Society of Civil Engineers. Its president, Maria Lehman, described a road as basically 3 sponges sitting on top of each other. The first and deepest sponge layer is a stone subbase for drainage. The second sponge is a concrete or asphalt with large stones on it. It can be up to 12 inches thick on certain roads. roads. And the third sponge, the top layer, is a binder like asphalt that's made of fine stones for a smoother ride. Bridges, on the other hand, usually use a steel or concrete base with a deck on top that's covered by a wearing surface. Now you might be thinking, Scotty, if a road can handle the weight of an 18-wheeler tractor trailer that weighs up to 80,000 pounds loaded, how much of an impact could a heavy EV really have? And that's a valid question. But here's the thing. It all boils down to one word: lifespan. As more and more cars electrify, this means we'll see an increase of heavy vehicles that drive on a standard road. In other words, the lifespan of our roads will decrease instead of lasting 18 to 20 years. American roads will need to request more repairs, maintenance, and replacement, which means more of your tax dollars. But that's just the standard road we're talking about. It's a different story for your home driveway. Driveway standards usually depend on the local municipality. That means if you're leaving your GMC Hummer out in a thin layer of asphalt or concrete for hours each day and it's not reinforced, it's going to crack. It's as simple as that. In 2021, American infrastructure earned a C- on the nation's infrastructure report card. In the report, it was found that a whopping 43% of our roads were in poor or mediocre condition. That's almost half. As you can see, our roads aren't doing stellar as it is, so adding more electric trucks and SUVs won't help one bit. Road repairs and maintenance aren't cheap. Paving just 1 mile of roadway can cost anywhere from $100,000 to $1 million. And remember, these are your tax dollars we're talking about. But let's not forget about another thing. There's also the environmental cost to consider. Reality is that repaving roads is hard on the environment. Road paving equipment required unfriendly emissions releasing fuel and so forth. There's also the environmental impact caused by the production of electric vehicles. Take EV batteries, for example. For years now, lithium-ion batteries have been hailed as clean and popular power source for EVs. After all, these batteries can store a lot of energy in a small space, can be recharged, and can remain effective even after thousands of charge cycles. By now, we all know about the environmental impact that gas-powered cars have due to their greenhouse gas emissions. But if you ask me, not enough people are talking about the negative impact that EV batteries are also having on the environment. I'm talking about long before the battery even makes it inside an EV. The manufacturing process to make EV batteries and their components result in carbon dioxide emissions. In fact, producing lithium-ion batteries or EVs is even more material intensive than producing traditional combustion engines. This is especially true as the demand for EV batteries continues to rise. To make lithium-ion batteries, lithium first must be extracted from hard rock mines or underground brine reservoirs. A major part of this energy needed to extract and process lithium comes from carbon dioxide-emitting fossil fuels, especially with hard rock mining. Believe it or not, for every ton of mined lithium, we're looking at an extra 15 tons of carbon dioxide that gets sent out into the air. But that's not even half of it. I haven't even mentioned the other costs that come with producing all EV batteries. Mining raw materials like lithium, nickel, and cobalt is very labor intensive. 60% of the world's cobalt comes from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, a place where child labor and human rights violations are very real. The mining process also requires chemicals and humongous amounts of water, and the process can end up creating byproducts like toxic waste and other contaminants. Basically, to synthesize the materials needed for battery production, you need heat between 800 to 1,000 degrees Celsius. But this high temperature only starts becoming cost effective by burning fossil fuels, which as we know generates carbon dioxide emissions. The exact amount of CO2 emissions vary a lot depending on the materials used, how they're sourced, and what energy sources end up being used in the process. But if we looked at the majority of lithium-ion batteries, around 77% of them are manufactured in a country where coal is the primary energy source. I'm talking about China. The reason why all of this is concerning for the environment is because coal emits about twice the amount of greenhouse gases as natural gas does when generating electricity. To put this in perspective, look at the Tesla Model 3 battery, for example. Its battery is 80 kilowatt hours. For a battery that size, you're looking at anywhere almost 2.5 metric tons to 16 metric tons of CO2 emissions. By the way, 1 metric ton comes out to about the same amount that a gas-powered car emits after 2,500 miles of driving. But now imagine that times 16, and the bigger the battery, the worse it gets for the environment. So no, EV batteries are not carbon neutral. That aside, EV technology is more climate friendly than other alternatives that are currently out there. The electric grid here in the US is cleaner than burning gasoline alone. So, in the long run, driving an electric car releases less CO2 than driving a gas-powered car. Of course, if an EV were to run on other energy sources like hydropower, solar, or wind, it'd be a lot cleaner and help with grid stabilization. But we're not there yet. In a nutshell, EVs are inherently heavy. The only way to compensate for the heavy weight and solve the weight problem is to make EV trucks and SUVs smaller. Honest, when you just boil it down, we really don't need SUVs to be that big. The popularity of large SUVs is basically because of marketing trends. Another option to compensate for EV weight is to change the material of the frame. Think things like aluminum or carbon. According to one report, lightweight materials are another important technology that can improve passenger vehicle energy efficiency by 6 to 8% for each 10% reduction. It also makes EVs more competitive. But there's a downside to that. The challenging with some of these materials can easily result in the EV costing more. Most importantly, of course, newer, more efficient battery technology needs to be developed. This is what will really change the game for electric cars. But now, you tell me, do you agree that EV trucks and SUVs need to get smaller? Do you prefer to get bigger or smaller vehicles? Please share by commenting below. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for your support.